First of all, you need to understand what Mars is. You're not going to be able to take the information I'm giving you today. Yes, I'm talking to you, viewer, and take this as your own information. Because when I am dissecting and looking at like what is Mars doing for you in your life and in which area of your life, I need to also understand the chart as a whole. Every single piece of your chart are ingredients to create the soup for me to give you that soup and say, hey, here, this is the conclusion of you. This is where you're supported in your life. This is the things that you can do. Under this umbrella, you can do whatever you want. You're going to be successful. Right. So today we're going to be covering over the basics. Again, take this with a grain of salt because first, join my community, get your Vedic astrology reading done, and then we can talk. Otherwise, this is more for everyone's overview. First thing first, I'm going to be going over some of my notes. As you can see, I have my own notes here of like years worth of study. First things first, you need to understand what is Mars. Before I get into like what Mars symbolizes and what Mars represents for an individual in their chart, you need to first understand one of the natures of Mars. And I'm going to speak of a very like superficial basic level of Mars. If Mars wanted to be friends with someone else, with another planet, no matter how nice Mars intends to be, no matter how good the intentions are for Mars, it wants to be friends, but it ends up hurting those around it. Mars is one of the most violent planets out of all of the other planets apart from K2. Because when you look at Mars, Mars represents a soldier, the one who's taking orders from the king, an athlete, right? Even a chef, even because the ability to use knives. Why? It goes hand in hand with Mars wanting to be friends with people, but no matter how much it wants to be friends with others, it always ends up hurting others. Why? Because it's spiky in nature. It's very violent. So when it wants to be friends with the other planets, it ends up hurting them in the process. It's just inevitable. But the symbolism of it is sharp objects, knives, scissors. So again, that's the reason why I also mentioned chef, knives, the ability to use knives. You think that just loving food is enough for you to be a great chef? No. There are different skills and different combinations and different things required in order for you to be a great chef, let alone making tasty food, let alone knowing what tasty food tastes like. Because there are people who go to any diner and they would say, oh my gosh, this food is so delicious, and they just microwaved the food in the kitchen right before taking it out for them to consume and eat. And when I eat it, I'm like, oh my God, it's disgusting. Very basic about Mars. Mars is a very violent planet. It's many other amazing things. And violent doesn't mean bad, meaning, oh, Mars is here, that's bad for this house. No. Don't do any like psychoanalysis here, okay? Some of the other things that I want to state here that is associated with Mars are accidents. Mars is a significator of vehicles. Saturn is also, but Mars especially, because Mars is associated with the fourth house, and fourth house is the house of vehicles. Mars represents oil. So like if you see a pen, the body structure of the pen itself is Saturn, but the ink inside the pen is Mars. That's the reason why when you're writing, it's such a popular thing for people when they say, oh, if you want to manifest something, write. Now, depending on your manifestation style, you may write and nothing will happen ever in your life. Unless there's a specific time period in your life where a certain thing is being transited in a specific nakshatra, where it's giving you that ample energy to manifest through writing. But everyone has different manifestation styles. So if you want to find out your manifestation style, at least join a community, get your Vedic astrology reading as soon as possible, so you can start putting your energy all where you are most supported based on your manifestation style. That way, manifestation just becomes foolproof for you. It is ink, oil. If that's the case, what did I mention before? That is the most violent. But what does this also show us? And we'll get to that in a second in terms of what it means in your chart. Other things, cuts, wounds, is another thing associated with Mars. Why? Because it's associated with the 8th house. It's ruling Scorpio and is ruling Aries. Aries naturally is associated with things like athletes, soldiers. Where do they tend to get hurt the most? Remember what I told you about the nature of Mars. Now we're starting to put the symbolism and things together. The nature of Mars is what? Many different things, but 2 things I already told you. Soldier and athlete. What tends to happen to soldiers and athletes? They get cuts. They get bruises. They get burned. They get hurt. Sometimes the head. Sometimes all over their body. Which house is Aries originating from? The first house. The first house is what? Your head and your body. It's you. Now, and I'm not gonna get into like every single detail because I don't want to make the video super long. The other thing is loss of semen. Why loss of semen? Now, I already told you Mars rules Aries, but which other sign does it rule? Do you remember? Scorpio. And Scorpio is from the 8th house. 8th house is where your sexual organs exists. The 7th house, which is the house right before the 8th house, are your reproductive organs. That's also the house where you get married. That's the house where you meet other people. Right. You're required to have someone else in order to reproduce. That's where your reproductive organs are. But when it comes to the 8th house, that's where the science of life exists. Occult, mysticism, hidden knowledge, hidden secrets, things like that. And that's where your sexual organs belong. Right. So naturally, this 8th house is the result of the 7th house. So naturally, there is a loss of semen. That transition between the 7th and 8th, you get someone, you meet someone, you're in a relationship, or you're getting married. Now, boom, 8th house. Now you're losing semen, body fluids, whatever, you're having sex. Another thing is blood, right? Cut, burn, bruises, cuts, unexpected events, right? Accidents, it can result in blood. There are other things that can show why this is blood, but I'm not going to get into that now because again, I want to get to the comment. It goes so much more into it, but this is like surface level again. There is also a Vedic astrology school that is now being created inside of the community. So if you're not ready to get a reading, but you want to learn astrology, you can also join the school. But I recommend getting a reading. That way you can learn more by learning from your chart. It's kind of like, you know how you learn information about other people and like, unless you're emotionally invested, it's something you have like in the books, but you don't remember. But the moment it's information about you, you remember that information for life. By getting a reading, you're also learning astrology because you're understanding why these things are happening the way they're happening. Okay. But again, it's always going to be from your own perspective, your own point of view, because it's going to be your particular chart, unlike someone else. And you're going to need to notify a foundation in order to be able to tell like what is going on for the individual, how is karma expressing for them. Okay. And I want to give other people the chance to tell me what they have. Usually before even getting to planets, I'm going over the basic foundation of a person's chart. And we don't know your whole entire foundation. Before I even touch planets, that takes like a whole hour. If you are interested in finding out where you should expand your energy based on whatever goal you have or where you want to be in the next 12 months, then join a community. It's free at the moment.